January 1, 2024, and the Corporate Transparency Act is now in effect. FinCEN has opened the reporting portal for you to report your beneficial ownership information. How do you do that? Hi, I'm John Strohmeyer with Strohmeyer Law. Today we're going to be going through how do you actually report your beneficial ownership information to FinCEN if you have a reporting company. I've already done this. I walked through the process with one of my companies already today. I'm here to show you, basically, this is a pretty easy process. It worked for me. It's good to see that this is something we've been building up to for a while. I wasn't sure if it was actually going to work. I'm happy to report so far, so good. I will say this is not something to wait on. Who knows if the system will be able to handle the number of people who are going to kick the can down the road till December, November, October. Go ahead and get this in. A thing to think about, the IRS usually turns off the EIN automatic application process for the last few days of the year. This is probably not a situation you want to put yourself in, either for yourself or for your clients. Once you know you're going to be reporting this information, go ahead and get it in. Also, what I'm not going to be doing is going through the process to get a FinCEN ID number. That is in a separate video. If you want to watch that, go get that. So let's take a look over at the FinCEN website. So here we are on their webpage. If you come down here to beneficial ownership information, we're going to click on that. As I mentioned before, you can get a FinCEN identifier. This is a process that goes through your login.gov ID. So if you already have that, it'll be easy to jump in, update your information. Like I said, we've got a separate video on that. Now, here's where we go. We're going to file a report with the beneficial ownership information e-filing system. Again, this is probably based on the existing architecture for FBAR reporting. What you see here is, here's where they've got the BSA Bank Secrecy Act filing information. You could start that here. But the other things, you can either click on this button to file your beneficial ownership information report, or you can click on this button to get started. Both of them take you to the same place. When you go to that same place, what does it look like? Well, beneficial ownership information report, what are we doing? You've got three options to fill these out, and we're going to go through two of them. The first, filling out the PDF. I've already downloaded the PDF. We'll get to that one. It's going to ask for the same information as if you filled out an online beneficial ownership information report. Now, we'll click this in just a second. The third option, if you have access to some third-party system-to-system API or an application programming interface, this is where somebody else has built an interface that plugs into FinCEN's computers. You can use their dashboard, their tool to upload your information. I don't have that, but I do know that a number of the registered agent companies are offering this as a service so that you can use their service to upload your information there. You can manage it internally there. That's probably going to be a good option for companies that actually have a number of beneficial owners. But we're going to focus on these other two options that are available. We're going to start with the online beneficial ownership information. So we're going to click Prepare and Submit. The good news about this, look, we walked straight to it. You've got these 5 tabs: filing information, reporting company, company applicants for companies that are formed or registered to do business in the U.S. on or after January 1st, 2024, then the beneficial owners, and then finally submitting everything. The good news about this, look, you can jump back and forth. As you can see, I've already jumped in and we're right into filling out the information. So initial report is what a lot of us are going to be doing. If you have a prior report or updating a prior report, either correcting or updating, you'll type in the entity's legal name, their tax number identification type, so whether it's an actual EIN, a social security number, or a foreign tax ID. Finally, if it's a foreign number, you're going to put in the foreign jurisdiction where it's formed. Then they're autofilling in the date it was created. Now, since most of us are going to be doing initial reports, we're going to go with that. And that's it for page 1. We're going on to the next page. If you want this entity to get its own FinCEN ID, this is going to be where you request that. So it may show up later that you want entities to have their own FinCEN IDs to facilitate other reporting. This is how you would do that. Now, what are we doing next? Again, this follows along with a lot of what we saw in the proposed regulations. Going through things, I didn't really see anything in this form, either the PDF or the online version, that changed my mind or that looked really different from the regulations. And that's good. This is what we want. It should be, hopefully, pretty easy to get this done. So first, you're going to put in the company's legal name. After that, if it has any trade names or DBAs, you'll put that in. If you need to add more, again, you're just clicking the button to add more, remove, and there you go. Now, form of identification. Now, this is where you're getting into a little bit more information about the company. So, tax identification type. This is the tax ID number that they're going to use to correlate across systems. So, if it's a social security number, because it's an entity that relies on the owner's social, you'll do that. But again, most entities have their own tax ID number, and that's where you'd use that. Next, jurisdiction of formation. So this would be initially the country, and then once you do that, so it's a domestic reporting company, then you'll figure out what state, Louisiana. Again, if you need to change it, if you get something wrong, you can just come in, Arizona, there you go. It's that easy. Then the current address, remember, for the current business address, that's where it goes. It's not the attorney's address, it's not the accountant's address, it's not a P.O. box. It really is the address number, street number. They're not giving you the option for a P.O. box here. And then once you're done with that, going on to the next. What you should also see, I'm going through and putting in information, but mostly not filling out anything. You can, if you're, I wouldn't recommend actually filling it out this way because you might miss something, but the fact is I'm going through and just putting in the info, just skipping past most of it. So here we are. Question 16. If this is an existing reporting company, you're going to tick this box. And by ticking that box, we're going to get this pop-up. It means we're not going to fill out company applicant information. Now, existing companies are ones formed on or before December 31, 2023. So here we are, January 1, 2024. Just about every entity that is an existing entity has been formed. There's a slight chance you may get something later in the mail, but really the time has passed. We have figured out all of those prior existing entities, so we know which ones those are. When you tick that box, again, it's going to blank out, so we cannot report who the company applicants are. Remember, these are going to be two people, somebody who actually files the documents with the state office or the tribe to form the entity, and somebody who directs it. Now, there's more information to that, but basically, advisors or people who are helping to create the entity, this is where we'll have their information. Because I form entities with clients, I have my FinCEN identifier number. I would potentially put this here for any new entities. And what they've got is when you've got a FinCEN ID, you put it here, and then it'll stop you from putting in anything else. So that's all that would go in. Basically, here's your name that you use to provide to that reporting company, and then the FinCEN ID. That's all they have to put in is the FinCEN ID. So once you've put that in, or here, for this, an existing reporting company, because we don't have to put any company applicant information down, that's it. We're done on this page. We're going to go to page 4 of this, beneficial ownership information. So this is where for all of the beneficial owners, you're going to fill in what is effectively lines 35 through 51. And this is lining up with how I remember the proposed regs. But what are you putting in? Well, there's an option here. If there is a minor owner of an interest, you'll tick this box recognizing there's a minor owner. We are reporting the adult who is parent. Next, line 36, if you have a FinCEN ID, you would type this in here, and that is a 12-digit number. Again, I just put 1 with a bunch of zeros. What you see, once I put that number in, everything else is done. They're going to coordinate on the back end. If you say FinCEN identifier, 1000 quad 0 is one of your beneficial owners, great, you're done. And then you can go on to the next page. Now, I'm going to come back, but that's it. If you had that FinCEN ID, you're basically done. When I clear out that information, again, what you see is here, this is all the other information that we need that pops back up. But once we've got the FinCEN identifier, it goes away. But clearing it out. Well, next, if you've got an exempt entity, so perhaps this is a newly exempt entity, or it's an entity that you've just formed and you're claiming it as exempt, you can tick that box, and then because it's exempt, then you're just going to put in the entity's legal name, and you're done with that. Then, for beneficial owners, what are we doing? Last name, first name, middle name, suffix, date of birth. Again, stuff that you're supposed to be reporting on this. Their residential address. Again, residential, not attorney's address, not CPA, not a PO box. Again, this is where they're going to ask you to report all of that. Finally, identifying document type and the document number. The options: driver's license, state or local issued ID, a passport or a foreign passport. What is not an option? Using your social security number to identify yourself. And the ID they're looking for, the unique number, is something that's used to identify you and is issued by a state or local entity. It's not your social security number. I know I'd seen some people who'd said, oh, well, you're going to have to upload your social. Again, you're not uploading your social if you don't want to. Then where did this document come from? What jurisdiction? So again, United States, District of Columbia, and then this is where you will upload an electronic copy of that document. So you can use PDFs, PNGs, JPEGs. There was not anything I saw on how to, minimum file size on this or the minimum resolution. They basically took what I used. Now, I scanned, when I was creating my FinCEN ID, I scanned my driver's license with my high-end scanner, so I'm not really worried about it. It's a good-looking copy. But I don't know if they're going to kick anything back. Again, I wouldn't get too cute on that. I would rather use something else. Use a good quality scan of your ID so that you're not potentially getting issues later. Finally, submitting the information. What are you going to get? Completing the fields, email, confirm your email, first name and last name, who is submitting this. And then I'm not reporting anything, so I'm not going to click submit BOI. But what you should see here is, look, you're going to get this. Once you're done with it, it does kick out a confirmation page. It'll have a confirmation of what you filed and a way to download a report of that. So once you get this all done, and you're going to hit submit using this form, what you'll end up with is a confirmation of what you filed. So here we're looking at my status confirmation. I had the beneficial owner ID of the report. I've redacted that. The submission tracking ID, I redacted that. The email that I submitted as well, also redacted. What you also see is that we're going to be able to download this at the bottom. I can't get that to pull up. Yep. It's just going to be difficult. But what you should see is that once you're done, you get a report that you've got your proof that this was done. There's a tracking ID. This is something that's just going to make all of us feel better that, hey, look, it was done. I've got a report of this, and you can get a copy of exactly what was filed. Now, I mentioned there's also a PDF version of this. I have not used this just yet, but let's walk through. And what you're going to see is that this PDF looks a lot like what we saw in the online version. Again, completing it, type of reporting, initial. If you tick the box for initial report, then what you're, it's not going to, it's graying out all of this information, but if you untick that box, well, correct a prior report, then you've got to put in this information so people know, or so FinCEN knows what you're updating. We're going to, again, just use initial report. And this is a 4-page PDF that's following along with the same information we had before. What do we have? If you want a FinCEN ID, you can tick that box. Reporting company legal name, you're going to put in, like I did, test name LLC. If there are trade names, you can add those in. Identification number, type. Again, EIN, Social Security, or foreign. Where was it formed? What's the current address? Going on to page 3. If it's an existing reporting company, again, it'll gray out all the information on the company applicant. But even if you did have a FinCEN ID, so 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's FinCEN ID is a 12-digit number, 3 groups of 4 digits. And, oh, look, I got the right numbers. And so it grayed everything out once I put that FinCEN ID number in there. When I take it out, and it comes back out. And so it knows what you're doing. It's taking that FinCEN ID and updating the PDF so you don't have to put that in. Then here at the end, FinCEN ID number, you can put that in for anybody. Again, it's the same information that we saw in the initial report in the online form. Now, if we come back and what we're going to if we were to file the PDF, well then what are we doing? We're going to, like I said, here we are on the website, prepare the BOIR, just download that, it'll get you that PDF, then submit it. Well, it's the same confirmation page where it's your name and uploading this, and then you drag and drop it here for your PDF. And that way, if you're using the PDF form of this, then you're done. The reason I think, until I find an API system that I like, I'm probably going to use the PDFs for most of my companies, just because it seems like it'll be easier to track. You can say, here, on January 1st, these were our beneficial owners, company applicants. If we need to come back to it, we're not going to have to re-enter all that information. We've got it there, and we can just start from that point. What we'll do, for simple entities, we may just use the online form because, well, look, for my company, I've got one owner. It made it easy for me to get that done. I also added my wife because we live in a community property state, and I think that triggers her to be a beneficial owner as well. So that, that was easy. I knew what our information was. I was able to get it uploaded. But if you're in a situation where there are going to be a lot of beneficial owners, it's probably going to be easier to use the PDF version of that. If you're using an outsourced API, that will be easier if you have a lot and you're just managing lots of entities. So good news today. It was good to see that this worked as planned. And it took me about 10 minutes to get through this outside of me taking notes and just kind of fiddling around with the system to see how things work. I don't see this as being a big issue, at least for now. I would not wait to get these in. Again, we were worried about the system working, period. It seems to have worked. The thing beyond that was, were so many people going to get in it and melt down the servers? That's still a possibility. I haven't seen anything that says it won't happen, but this is a great time. Go ahead and get these reports in so that you're done and you're not waiting for FinCEN or potentially dealing with some sort of power outage with them or a server outage. Thanks so much. We'll see you on the next video.